All right, let's talk about something that's at the very heart of the modern workplace. Personality tests. Are they this incredible tool for building dream teams? Or are we all just spending millions of dollars on what's basically corporate astrology? Let's get into it. You know that feeling, right? You get put on a project and it's just magic. The energy is right, ideas are flying, everyone's in sync. And then there are the other teams, the ones where every single step feels like you're wading through mud. What is the difference? For the longest time, a ton of companies have thought the answer is personality tests. And the idea is super appealing, right? If we can just figure out if you're an INFP or an ESTJ, we can put all the right puzzle pieces together and create this perfectly harmonious team. Yeah, it's not quite that simple. And this gets us right to the core of the issue, what we're calling the personality paradox. Because there's this huge contradiction hiding in plain sight in companies all around the world. So on one side, you have this massive industry. We're talking millions, and I mean millions of dollars, spent by huge companies every single year to sort and label their employees. But on the other side, you have a mountain of scientific research that's basically screaming, hey, wait a minute, we're not so sure these things are valid or even reliable. And you can see that gap right here. Corporate adoption, it's through the roof. It's a standard part of team building days and even hiring. But the scientific validity for some of the most popular tests, like Myers-Briggs, it's shockingly low. So what gives? It really is kind of absurd when you stop and think about it. We live in this data-obsessed world, you know? We will A/B test the color of a button on a website to see if it makes a tiny 0.5% difference in clicks. But when it comes to our most critical asset, our people, we often fall back on tools that can feel more like a fun magazine quiz than actual science. So if we want to cut through the noise, we need a better way to think about this. A real evaluation of any test really comes down to 4 big questions. First, validity. Is it actually measuring what it says it's measuring? Second, reliability. If you take the test today and then again in 6 weeks, will you get the same answer? For a lot of these tests, the answer is a big nope. Third is utility. Does using this thing actually make the business better? And finally, you have to ask about ethics. Does it just slap unfair labels on people? Now, to understand why so many smart companies land on totally opposite sides of this, we've got to look at 2 big competing ideas about management. It's really a battle between 2 goals, creating harmony versus demanding adaptability. So, first, you've got the human relations movement. This idea says, hey, people aren't just cogs in a machine. They're social creatures. They're motivated by feeling like they belong. And if you believe that, then personality tests look like a fantastic tool, right? They help you understand the whole person so you can build these happy, harmonious teams where everyone just fits. But then you have the contingency theory, which says something completely different. It argues there's no single best type of person or team. The right team is totally, well, contingent on the situation. The goal isn't to find some perfect universal fit. It's to build a team that can adapt to whatever challenge you throw at it. So, okay, this isn't just some abstract debate from a dusty textbook. These 2 theories lead to massively different ways of running a company. So let's look at 2 incredibly successful companies that have basically taken these ideas to the absolute extreme. First up, let's talk about Shopify. They pretty much ignore traditional personality tests. Instead, their founder, Toby Luca, talks about this idea of a trust battery. They don't really care if you're an introvert or an extrovert. They want to know about you. What challenges have you overcome? Are you resilient? Are you curious? I mean, this is contingency theory in action, pure and simple. In the tech world, things change so fast that a personality label from last year might be useless today. So they focus on finding adaptable, skilled people who can just solve the next problem, whatever it is. All right, now let's jump into a completely different universe. Bridgewater Associates, the biggest hedge fund in the world. They are famous, or maybe infamous, for their system of radical transparency. Every single person takes a whole battery of psychometric tests, and the results go on these baseball cards that everyone in the company can see. Teams are then engineered, piece by piece, based on these deep psychological profiles. Bridgewater is basically the human relations movement on steroids. The whole company is built on this core belief that if you have enough data about every person's psychology, you can actually engineer a perfect social system, a machine that runs without friction and maximizes everyone's intelligence. So here they are, the two paths side by side. You've got Shopify going all in on contingency theory. No labels, just focus on adaptability with their trust battery. And on the other side, Bridgewater with this extreme version of human relations theory, deep psychometrics and baseball cards. And you want to know the craziest part? Both of these companies are absolute giants. This proves there isn't just one right answer. So, after seeing this paradox and these two wildly different approaches, what's the takeaway for you, for your career? How should you think about these tests when they come your way? Well, it really boils down to three simple principles. First, purpose determines utility. A test that's great for self-discovery is probably a terrible tool for hiring. Second, context over labels. An introvert might be your star coder. What really matters is how someone performs in their job, not some static type. And number three is huge. See these tests as a tool for conversation, not as a final verdict on who somebody is. And that's really the bottom line, something the great management thinker Peter Drucker talked about a lot. The real value of any of these tests isn't the four-letter code it gives you. It's whether or not it helps you personally gain some self-awareness, to understand your own strengths and figure out where you can be most effective. But what's next? Where is all this going? Well, here's a hypothesis for you. The whole era of these simple four-letter type tests, it's probably coming to an end, at least in really advanced companies, because something way, way more powerful is just over the horizon. The future is all about AI-driven behavioral analytics. So instead of a one-off quiz, imagine an AI building a dynamic, constantly updated profile of you by analyzing real data, how you talk on Slack, the code you check in, how you edit documents with your team, all of it. Now, this could give us a much, much more accurate picture of how we work. But, and it is a big but, it opens up a whole new can of worms. We're talking about everything from constant workplace surveillance to the very real danger of biased algorithms making career decisions for us. And that leaves us with one final big question for you to think about. Which would you rather have? A simple label from a test that might be wrong but is at least easy to grasp? Or a super complex data-driven profile of you that's maybe more accurate but comes with all those strings attached? It's a choice we're all going to be thinking about very soon. Thanks for joining me.